Welcome back to the sanctuary of hidden truths, anything you want. There is an old saying in the corridors of power and passion: old love stories rarely get a proper burial. They linger like ghosts in the drafty corners of new beginnings, waiting for a single moment of carelessness to resurface and haunt the living. Today, we are not merely discussing a tabloid rumor, we are investigating a haunting. We are turning our gaze toward a man who has meticulously constructed a fortress around his private life, only to find the walls breached not by an enemy, but by the very person wearing his ring. We are talking about Emre Özmen, and the storm that has just made landfall in his life. But the trigger for this seismic event was not Emre, nor was it his famous, ever-present ex-partner. The earthquake was caused by his fiancée, Yağmur. Leaked statements from the couple's inner circle have shattered the fragile peace of the gossip press, turning a quiet engagement into a public battlefield. A phrase, as short as it is devastating, was uttered in private and now echoes through every tea room in Istanbul: he no longer loves her. To whom is she referring? The answer is the shadow that refuses to fade, Aybüke Yılmaz. Is this a declaration of victory, a cry of insecurity, or a desperate attempt to close a book that the public insists on keeping open? Before we transport ourselves to the scene of this emotional crime, I must ask for your unwavering alliance. To ensure you never miss these deep psychological profiles of the stars you follow, verify that you are subscribed to anything you want. And for those among you who wish to be the true patrons of this channel, the guardians of detailed storytelling, I invite you to click the join button below. Your support is the gravity that holds this universe together. Now, pour yourself a drink and settle in. We are about to dissect the night Yağmur decided to bury the past. To understand the magnitude of what is happening, we must first set the stage. In the world of high society, emotional assassinations do not take place in dark alleys or behind closed doors. They happen under the soft glow of crystal chandeliers, amidst the clinking of fine silverware and the hum of polite conversation. According to privileged information that has reached our newsroom, the incident in question occurred at an elegant dinner party in the heart of Istanbul, surrounded by friends and confidants. It was a setting designed for celebration, for discussions of wedding preparations and future happiness. But beneath the surface, a current of tension was running wild. Yağmur, reportedly exhausted by the constant whispers that trail her relationship like a persistent fog, decided that the time for silence had passed. She did not issue an official press release, she chose a weapon much more powerful. A confidence shared with her inner circle, knowing full well that in this industry, a whisper travels faster than a shout. It is said that over glasses of vintage wine, with a demeanor that witnesses have described variously as icy and admirably confident, Yağmur dropped the bombshell. She did not raise her voice, she simply stated, categorically and without room for interpretation, that Emre Özmen has completely closed the chapter on his past life. He doesn't love her anymore. That past is dead and buried. These were reportedly her exact words, referring unequivocally to Aybüke Yılmaz. It was a surgical strike, intended to sever the lingering connection between her fiancé and his former co-star once and for all. Let us pause and analyze this moment with the scrutiny it deserves. When a fiancé feels the compelling need to verbalize the absence of love for an ex-partner, what is she really telling us? Is this a statement of fact, or a performative act of reassurance? Some veteran gossip columnists suggest that Yağmur was not simply describing reality, she was marking her territory in the most primal sense. It was a message broadcast on a private frequency, intended for friends who might still harbor secret allegiances, for enemies waiting for a slip-up, and above all, for the legions of fans who still light candles at the altar of the former couple. It was an act of emotional sovereignty. The subtext of her declaration was clear. Now he is mine, and so is his heart. But we must ask the uncomfortable question, why was such a forceful declaration necessary in the first place? If the love is truly dead, if the past is truly buried under 6 feet of indifference, why does it need to be announced over dinner? Usually, indifference is silent. The need to proclaim that he doesn't love her suggests that the ghost of Aybüke Yılmaz is still rattling chains loud enough to disturb the peace of the new relationship. It hints that Yagmur feels the weight of the third person in her engagement, a presence that is felt even when she is not physically in the room. We are looking at a classic case of the lady doth protest too much, or perhaps it really is just a confident woman setting the record straight. I want to turn the floor over to you, the Anything You Want community. Do you think Yagmur's statement comes from a place of absolute security, or is it a sign that she is threatened by the memory of Aybüke? Can you ever truly bury a past that the public loves? Let us know your theories in the comments below. And remember, hitting the like button helps us continue this investigation. For those who want to support our detailed analysis directly, the join button awaits. We cannot ignore the name that hangs heavy over this entire narrative, Aybüke Yılmaz. To understand why Yagmur felt the need to speak, we must acknowledge the sheer gravity of Aybüke's presence in Emre Özmen's story. They did not just work together on Kuma, they lived a story that transcended the screen, creating a chemistry that bled into the real world and won the hearts of millions. That kind of magic is dangerous. It does not disappear from the collective memory overnight just because a director yells cut or a relationship ends. It lingers in the edits on social media, in the reruns, and in the hopeful hearts of fans. For years, even long after their breakup, rumors of a possible reunion or unresolved feelings have filled the gossip columns like water filling a sinking ship. The arrival of Yagmur and her subsequent engagement to Emre should have theoretically put an end to these speculations. It should have been the period at the end of the sentence. However, paradoxically, the engagement reignited them. Why? Because every step Emre takes toward the altar is inevitably compared to what could have been with Aybüke. The public is grieving the loss of a fantasy, and Yagmur is the reality that stands in the way. Therefore, her statements should not be read as a gratuitous attack, but rather as a defensive response to a ghost that refuses to leave the room. She is fighting for her narrative against a folklore that has already been written. Rumors circulating in Istanbul's most exclusive tea rooms paint Yagmur as a woman of unwavering composure during this crisis. She is said to act with an almost regal calm, conveying to anyone who will listen that the rumors about Aybüke Yılmaz do not bother her for a second. I am not jealous. I am confident. This seems to be the motto she has embroidered onto her banner. According to those close to her, she emphasizes that Emre has entered a new emotional phase, a stage of maturity, peace, and domesticity that he has only found by her side. She frames herself not as the rebound, but as the destination. This narrative of the confident girlfriend has generated mixed reactions within the ecosystem of high society. On one side are those who applaud her, seeing her as a modern, strong woman who refuses to be intimidated by her partner's famous past. They see her declaration as a necessary boundary setting. On the other side, skeptics see this insistence as a crack in her armor. They argue that true confidence does not need to declare that the ex is unloved, true confidence simply lives its life. By bringing Aybüke's name into her private celebrations, even to dismiss it, she grants the ghost power. She keeps the triangle alive by trying to flatten it. Caught in the crossfire of this verbal sparring is Emre Özmen, a man known for his discretion and his desperate desire to keep his private life under wraps. The current situation must undoubtedly be a nightmare for him. He finds himself in the impossible position of having his private feelings dissected and proclaimed by his fiancée while the public watches with popcorn. He has chosen the only path left to the modern gentleman, absolute silence. He has not confirmed Yagmur's statement, nor has he defended Aybüke. He has simply continued to work, to exist, to build his walls. However, this silence is a double-edged sword. To Yagmur, it might look like agreement, a tacit endorsement of her dead and buried claim. To the fans of Aybüke, it looks like a man who is trapped, unable to speak his truth without causing a scandal. His silence allows everyone to project their own version of the story onto him. Is he the happy fiancé who has moved on? Or is he the man who still carries a torch but knows he cannot light it? In the absence of his voice, the women in his life, past and present, become the narrators of his heart. And at the third point of this excruciating triangle, we have Aybüke Yılmaz. Her reaction to these leaked statements that essentially erase her significance to Emre, has been nothing short of masterful. Total, absolute indifference. While her name is dragged through the mud of rumors and dinner party gossip, she continues to shine in her professional career, posting about her work, her life, and her successes. She has not posted a cryptic quote about past loves. She has not unfollowed anyone. She has simply ignored the storm. This strategy is devastatingly effective. By refusing to engage, she retains her dignity and her mystique. She remains the untouchable star, the one who does not need to prove she was loved because the world already knows it. In a battle between a loud declaration and a silent smile, the silent smile often wins the war of public perception. Aybüke proves that while Yagmur may have the ring, Aybüke has the legacy. What is fascinating about this story isn't just the romantic drama between the three main characters, but how the ecosystem around them reacts. If we step back and look at the bigger picture, what we see is a universal struggle for identity and belonging. Yagmur is fighting a war on two fronts, one against the public's nostalgia, and one for her own identity. She is fighting to be recognized as the sole protagonist in Emre's life, without any footnotes mentioning Aybüke Yılmaz. She wants to be the headline, not the sequel. Despite the noise, the leaks, and the dead and buried comments, everything indicates that Emre and Yagmur are moving forward with their plans. They are building a life, wedding invites are likely being drafted, and the future is coming. But the question remains, if they can survive the ghost of Aybüke Yılmaz, can they survive anything? Or will the effort of constantly burying the past eventually exhaust the future? And so, the table is set, the wine is poured, and the declaration has been made. Yagmur has drawn a line in the sand, demanding that the world acknowledge her victory and the death of the past. But ghosts are notoriously difficult to bury, especially when millions of people are trying to keep them alive. We will continue to watch this story as it develops, analyzing every move, every silence, and every leaked whisper. Thank you for spending your valuable time with Anything You Want. If this deep dive into the psychology of celebrity relationships resonated with you, please do not leave without clicking the like button. Make sure you are subscribed and have the notification bell rung, so you are the first to know if the ghost returns. For our most dedicated supporters, remember that the join button is your gateway to supporting this channel's independence. We are Anything You Want, and until next time, be careful which ghosts you try to bury. Some of them are still breathing. Goodbye for now.